Okay, it is Wednesday, March 11th, 2026, at approximately 5:35 p.m. I'd like to call the Capital Budget Committee meeting to order for the town of Sherborn, Massachusetts. We have all members of the committee are present and accounted for. We have a number of guests here tonight, so I would like to move as rapidly through the items as feasible. Just as a matter of order, today we have a sort of potentially extended meeting depending on how long, but we are going to be co-participating with the advisory, which starts at 7 p.m. To the extent that we wrap up some of our independent processes before 7 p.m. or in any case, we'll probably take some sort of adjournment, and then we'll come back into session around 7 p.m. or whenever advisory is. But so we do have a limited window before advisory's meeting and before we need to take a break. So let's try to move expeditiously through the materials. First and foremost, one of the items on our agenda is the Recreation Department's Recreation Commission's proposal for capital budget committee items. I'm going to put that one first because I think hopefully it'll be shorter than some of the other items we have tonight. So I'd like to turn over any updates on that proposal to you, Dave.
Great. Do you want me to? Is it okay from here, or do you want me to sit somewhere else, or does it matter?
It's great.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, I was just looking to see what people are looking at home.
Volume's better if you're here.
We're here. Okay. Let me move over then.
You talk fast.
Thank you. Last night, the Recreation Commission met for their monthly meeting for the month of March. One of the items on the agenda was to discuss a capital budget item for the renovation of the Jameson 2 field. This is a project that we have discussed with you back in December. I think we came back in January. We had some updates. Then we had more work to do on it. The short of it is that the Recreation Commission, after much discussion last night, felt it was best to withdraw the project for consideration for this year's capital budget cycle. We have projects already in motion. They're going to be wrapping up this spring, and they're interested to see specifically how the Jameson Court project wraps up and what that costs. They also want to take more time to see if there's a better solution for the layout of the facility, to optimize that, but also to see if there's a better way to approach it from the budget as well. And so they voted unanimously to withdraw that article, or withdraw the consideration for that article for that capital budget item.
Questions, comments?
I do have a question. On the little chart that we were copied on, it's the draft of capital improvement requests. I'm not sure if that came from you, Jeremy, or?
Yeah, that was a summary I prepared for advisory and select board.
Okay.
It's a live document.
I have a question about liveliness.
Like Lee, that's a good thing.
That's recreation.
About recreation. One of the items that's listed is Laurel Field irrigation sprinklers, but the accompanying document mentioned that that's already in progress. So is it already funded?
So no, yes and no. So that one, that was the other thing that I wish to discuss with you as well, is that we had.
Okay, before we jump to that, because I think it's a sort of a separate issue, being not connected to the Jameson. Can we just
Yeah,
talk about Jameson?
yeah, let me go in quickly. Okay, so we have 95,000 out of 100 that was 2 years ago. Still remaining on Jameson 4. Okay. And what is the situation on that? Is that all right? So I just want to be clear. So then the Jameson 2 was taken back. And I understand that I've been involved in individual discussions with people, you know, with you and then also on the calls, because I just want the public to know that the initial, that 5,000 that was spent on, you know, engineering, I think, on getting the whole,
So so what that was spent on, most of that was spent on, which we would need irrespective of what we do with
Right.
Jameson 4.
right.
Was on a survey for the part of the facility that was not surveyed yet.
Okay, and that's fine. But then what happened or not, but an estimate to do it, the ideal thing, to go from 4 fields to 3 fields, which is ideal. We've talked about that in public meetings ad nauseum, so that's great. But the number, what was that number that initially came back that everybody was super surprised how high it was? It was about 700?
I think that's what
It was shockingly high.
it was shockingly high. It was somewhere between, depending on how you looked at the contingencies and some of the options, it was somewhere between like 600,000 and 700,000.
Okay, so 600 to 700, that's what I recall too.
Yep.
Okay, so, I mean, that's one of the things that I thought, why not come back instead of kind of piecemeal together, oh, like 100 for here, 100 for there, come back with more specific, you know, lower estimates or, you know, costs to doing that and doing it the right way.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that it's not, so thank you for, you know, pulling that back, because it just didn't make sense to just kind of throw 100 and 100
That's-
fields, not to get really what ultimately you want,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, that was both the recreation commissioners that were at last night's meeting that
Mhm.
were there, as well as Sean adding in his 2 cents. That was the conclusion. That was
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense
Yeah.
to, you know, everybody wants to have great infrastructure, but let's do it the right way.
correct.
So, all right, and we'll, in another advisory, talk about operating budget.
Okay.
So we'll belabor that. Thank you. And then just, is there, Jeremy or Pam, is there a time limit for how many years that can go unused? Or what's the protocol for the 95K that's been out there that we're paying interest on?
The exempts, the borrow.
Mhm.
No, it's not.
Okay. Is it, were you able to run numbers on that for the interest on what that's costing?
So far, yeah, it's at the end of this fiscal year, it'll be about 15,000 that we've paid back in interest and principal.
Okay, but the interest is,
Interest is 47.
okay,
But it is sitting, the funds are sitting in an interest bearing.
right, so I was asking for that and
And
then,
I make it between like 3.75 to 4.2% interest.
so what's the net? Okay, so, all right, I'm just,
So-
it's
Yeah,
significant. I mean,
No,
we're
no, I
like trying
wasn't
to
questioning
squeeze
that.
everybody's, you
I
know.
was gonna give the math, sorry.
Okay, do the math. So it's 47, but then it might come out to 1,000 or 2,000 or something like that. Okay. Okay. And then just,
They net fairly close. Zero, at least on the interest.
okay, well, that's good. And also, what's the situation with capital projects that we've got going on now? Again, I want to just be quick because I know we have a lot to cover. The tennis and pickleball.
Yep. So I talked to, I'll do the pickleball first since it's the one I talked to most recently this afternoon. So everyone's waiting for, and we're just about there for the snow and ice to recede before they can re-engage on these projects. We've been in a pause or holding pattern. The tennis pickleball courts, as of right now, targeting the week of March 23rd, 1 week from Monday, to put up construction fence and put up erosion barriers, have conservation look at that and start, if everything's good to go, start the demolition before the end of March. So that's for the tennis pickleball court project. If that starts on time, they expect that to be completed within 14 weeks or by the end of June.
Okay.
Which is important to us because we have summer programs that are dependent on, in part, the utilization of those courts.
Mhm.
The on the irrigation side, the next phase requires, well, there's two pieces. There's one piece that Sean is working with the electrician on, which is getting the power from the street connected to the site and a panel, which requires some work on one side, waiting again, snow and ice to get out of the way, so that trench can be made and that work can be done. Up on the hill where the pump station and the storage tanks are going to be, that has already been ordered. There's a long lead time on that component. It's expected to arrive by the end of March, beginning of April. And so that piece of the project, which is off of the athletic fields, it won't impact the athletic fields directly, is expected to get started in 2 to 4 weeks, depending on what shape the ground is in, for them to get out there, and the arrival of the equipment that was ordered.
Okay, great. And then there was that small, like, non-capital, 12,000?
Yes. So that is an item that's been discussed everywhere but here, I think, which is to move something that was originally within our operating budget for fiscal year 27 as a small capital ask, which is one of the 2 sprinklers to be used with the irrigation system once it is completed, so that we can, effectively double the capacity of our ability to water the facility with the irrigation system that should be functional.
So that's coming out of operating or revolving?
It was within operating. The suggestion was made because it's a capital type item to move it into as a small capital request for $12,000.
And is that what we're doing here now too?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Corey, do you want to ask any further questions about the sprinkler system and the 12,000?
Where did the money come from to purchase the pump and tank holding on the hill?
It's a combination of money. So it's the majority of the money is from ARPA funds. There's a component of the project that is being funded out of recreation revolving, and there's a portion of the project, the smallest portion is coming out of a slice of the operating budget.
So the total request is 12,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Those are 2 different things.
Those are 2 different things. So the irrigation project is,
When I said total, I really meant the only recreation request is 12,000.
sorry, it is 12,000. And I'm not, will that be a free cash?
It's been discussed as being a free cash because, well, I shouldn't say because, but it doesn't meet our criteria for a capital budget because of the size is too small. And so even though it is a capital item, it's supposed to be, existing for more than 5 years, and it's it's a piece of equipment that's going into an infrastructure project.
Yeah.
However, because of the way in which this project has been funded and hasn't been funded with any capital dollars as of yet, the standalone, I don't think then it doesn't meet our bylaw criteria. So I think the proposal is that it would go under what's the catchphrase that non-recurring.
Yeah, that's the word.
But large expenditure items.
Yep.
And so those are typically, or at least historically, have been funded through free cash.
Okay.
And so I think that the way that advisory is contemplating this, and maybe select board, is that it would go under the motion or recommendation to the town for using free cash. Which we have opined upon in the past, and I'm happy to entertain, if our committee wants to recommend favorable action.
Why wouldn't that be out of revolving fund?
I'm sorry.
But what, when you say free cash, but wouldn't it be appropriate under the revolving fund?
Potentially. I mean, I think the objective was to get it out of the operating.
Okay, so.
Yeah, and I think at the time that was the suggestion that was made, was to go with a vehicle as a capital budget item. So in terms of how it's funded, that's.
I mean, you already bought one or
I think
revolving.
it is related to the operating budget. So this conversation may be best before advisory.
Okay, thank you.
Because it does relate to the operating budget of recreation. It's kind of
Yeah,
a revolving fund component and a general fund component. Depending how all that's funded, the town may find the funds in the revolving account rather than using free cash.
Okay. Okay. So it's moot. Let's see.
Well, I'm not sure if it's
They're still
moot.
gonna be looking for you guys to,
Well, it's
There was
it's just,
something.
I'm just trying to, because the way that it gets proposed to the town is oftentimes at town meeting with a specific, the town will vote to approve the allocation of free cash. But I think, are you saying that however the
I'm saying
budget, operating budget might shake
how
out, then,
the shakeout of the sum of the operating budget, general fund budget for recreation and the revolving fund portion, however that shakes out in totality, there may be more opportunity to fund that out of the revolving account for rec.
okay. The one other thing consideration, at least that I see there, is that if it does come out of revolving, there's no requirement for a vote, which means that it could be acquired earlier in the construction process,
Well, we're
which
already,
to me, it seems like a significant consideration. Because you wouldn't have to wait to town meeting to be able to buy it and then get it in the ground.
The reason this has come up is because there's been some pressure to adjust the operating budget, the general fund portion of rec, and you do that, there's less available for capital. So
Right,
it's interrelated.
right. Okay, so to the extent that members of the committee want to at least suggest that look, it may not ever get to town meeting with a free cash situation, but to the extent we can put it on a report and say we thought it would be an appropriate use of free cash for this particular non-recurring large expenditure item.
Okay,
Or not an appropriate use. of
Or
free
not.
cash.
Or not.
obviously, not obviously, I'm in favor of purchasing this. The decision was made not by us to take it out of the operating budget. That was the most friendly. If it gets paid out of free cash, we also have some new numbers that we looked at about where the appropriate recommended best practices uses is of free cash. And we're really kind of close to that edge. So that I kind of feel that the best place to take it from is the revolving fund. I should ask if you have any notion of how large the revolving fund is now.
that's going to depend in large part where we end up on the budget. But net of the fiscal year 27 budget, it would, if it was approved as a proposed, and I'm not sure that's even the right wording, the anticipated remaining amount at the end of fiscal year 27 would be around $107,000. So I don't know if that helps or not.
Well, 12,000 could fit in. That was my question, basically.
Okay.
If you are gonna have it, if you're still in meeting when advisory's meeting, maybe defer your vote.
Yeah, to the extent that people want to share their opinions now, we might defer our vote, but at least like to solicit opinions of the committee for discussion purposes.
Okay, I'm in favor of doing it if it comes out of the revolving fund.
Okay.
I'm torn between a revolving fund or just call it for what it really is. And I don't think you can really pull, like, I do then put it out to the public to see if they want it and do it as a separate article for excluded debt.
Well, so it wouldn't be excluded debt because it doesn't meet our capital budget.
I know,
but-
that's, so for lack of that, then I'd say revolving because I think that's most appropriate. A case could be made out of operating because you still have operating budget. And that is going towards Laurel Fields, and that's what the 135 times 4 years, so a total of 540,000 has been the ideally was for Laurel Fields and getting that. So there's a case to be made for operating, believe it or not, because there's 150 in there as of this point. You know, that was budgeted for this year. So why not take it out of the to me, it has to come out of recreation, in my opinion, not free cash.
How about you, Peter?
Great question. So ultimately, I think that I don't have qualms about a relatively small amount of $12,000 coming out of free cash. However, I understand that, to the extent that revolving provides a operational, if that perhaps that's not the right word, a functional benefit and actually being able to install it and get it in the ground as quickly as possible. I think that that's a great advantage potentially for revolving if it's feasible.
And we
So
already have one that you've ordered, right?
So we have, the system requires two. One is for this going to be installed when the system's commissioned this spring within this fiscal year. And this was intended to be the supplemental one in the next fiscal year.
but if you had both in hand, you could install both at the same time.
Correct. Or use both at the same time. You can move them around.
So to get it functional as quickly as possible, revolving may provide a better solution. However, we can and perhaps wait till my understanding is that recreation will be attending sort of a joint meeting.
Yes.
And it might actually be towards the beginning of the meeting as well. And so I think we might have a quorum still at that point in time, and we could defer any actual vote to the extent that, the committee doesn't have to necessarily move on this non-recurring free cash item as proposed, but my understanding is as proposed, that is what is in front of us. And so to the extent we want to vote it down or recommend to the town not to approve it as free cash, I think we should take a vote later on. So anything else?
Nope.
All right. Thank you so much.
See you
Really
soon.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you guys soon. All right. So moving along, we have considered most of everything that has been proposed as requests this year. There are a number of them that are outstanding. I think predominantly at this point, if not entirely, they could be done under the category of DPW. And so I think that, thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, thank you for coming. Sorry if it made you get caught out in the rain.
I'm so happy you're back.
Great to be back. I think there's only one you haven't voted.
So I believe that, so there's as I think Jeremy has alluded to, there's some of these are sort of living documents, living proposals that have morphed and changed a little bit. So as it's written on this sheet, we have not voted on at least 3 of them. So 2 being, we have not taken any vote on the town hall exterior project.
Right.
We did not take a vote on the transfer station electrical and equipment upgrade or equipment purchases.
I think you did.
What's that?
You did. We can do it again, but you did. Before I left.
We actually voted on the design and
design piece.
feasibility. That is what we voted on. We voted to approve $75,000 for the specifically articulated projects, the design, engineering, and feasibility aspects of those. But I don't believe we actually voted on the recycling, the transfer project. And what I see in front of me on the sheet, and I shouldn't say see in front of me, I'm doing this from my own memory. I don't actually know what this is yet. I have to look at it more closely. But the number has changed from what I what we were originally requested of $75,000. My understanding now it is $125,000. So we will need to talk about that at some point.
There are some items that are listed here under the 125,000 that we did not vote on, and others in that list that we did vote on.
This is the old list though.
I can identify the ones we did not vote on were Fire Station 2 roof, Fire Station 1 windows, and Police Station locker room.
Yeah, we took all those off.
Hold on. Closing the fund those designs.
Oh.
This year.
Sorry, did you say design?
Not, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So there's,
So you took them all?
so
No,
that,
I'm sorry, I thought you were in the other
I'm
box.
kidding.
No,
I'm
no,
kidding.
I'm up in the design box.
I'm sorry.
Change in town buildings in general was that we wanted to focus the construction solely on the roof of this building and the exterior, which we're currently requesting $400,000 for.
Yes,
So that would be actually construction that would be happening
yes.
if that approval was requested.
The three,
And then we're proposing to solely ask for design funding for those projects.
the three that I just mentioned, those we did not vote on.
so
That I
fire
did not
station,
We
remove.
already have.
fire station 2 roof, fire station 1 windows. What was the
Police
last?
Station locker room.
Police station locker.
So the latest, that chart does have an accurate list of the design projects on it. Sees under the 125,
Okay. All right.
And
but the 75 is included in that 125.
so
The
that's,
new number would be 125.
so that's 50,000 that's out for the three that we just
Essentially,
listed. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Could you break out, because when we voted on approving the other ones that are listed there, the other design things, we had specific numbers for a specific design. Do you have numbers broken out for those three things?
Other numbers from the specific design.
Yeah, we did.
Construction.
No, we did for the design.
Which three?
Fire station 2 roof, fire
Fire-
station 1 windows, and police station locker.
Yeah, no,
And then the septic. So we had DPW, so these were the proposed funding, design projects. Design project.
there was the DPW site and the salt shed.
Mm-hmm.
There was the fire station kitchen,
For 30.
town hall HVAC,
Mm-hmm.
and the library septic system.
Yeah, and that was a total of 75. That's what we voted on.
Yeah, and they were individually had numbers attached to them.
Right, it's this one right here that you just, on your nice paper, passed out.
So, yeah,
On the original green that green one that you have.
Yes.
So, that's what we voted on. So we're gonna revote this to, those are all the same designs, right? The 125, but what are we
yeah, for
adding?
the 75, those were all the current estimates. Yep.
Okay,
Those are all done, and if we can get current estimates for the other three, we can just vote on those three.
The fire station windows, and roof would be the ones with the most engineering or architecture involved. The locker room, essentially referred as a bid package, there's not much design associated with that. So you,
Can you just divvy up the 50? quick?
yeah, so.
Well, I think he's saying,
Estimate
I beg your pardon?
20,000 for the fire station 1 windows, 20 for the roof, and 10 for the locker rooms.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, the chair of advisory had a good recommendation as far as the funding source, being out of the capital stabilization.
Yeah, I made a note about that, yeah. If nobody has, do people have questions?
question or discussion I like to engage in, but I don't, I'll let you guys.
so we would be voting just an additional 50 for this, and we would do,
In total,
we'd do the 2020-10. Okay,
Right.
so we don't have to rescind a vote, revote on the 75. Okay, great, thank you.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I think that we
These
should
are-
make it,
We're gonna get tripped over two different trigger points, so the rest of it.
Okay, so we'd have
Really make one big,
one big for 125. Okay, all right. I just was
We had
curious.
a discussion about this unfortunately, after you left. And we had in the motion explicitly the listed items, and we explicitly said the estimated amount for each one. It wasn't a fixed amount. And it was for a total of whatever the total was of those things. But it was the desire to explicitly have it on record.
yeah, I think the thinking was that, at the time it was 4 projects. It was important that the money go towards those 4 projects in terms of the design and engineering and feasibility of them. That the money not go to other projects, or that, money is utilized on, say, 2 of the projects. And so ultimately you have 2 other ones that never got done. But just sort of going back to perhaps one thing I want to just raise in general. So first and foremost, I do think it's important that the design engineering work gets done, and done sort of in a thoughtful and appropriate way before these big projects are done. And I think it's helpful, and I think it makes it very much easier process. I mean, I don't want to use the regional schools as an example, but when they are able to already have a bid package they can go out to bid, then they have a hard number that ultimately goes to the town meeting. So very much an approval of this. What my concern is that 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5, 6, 7 projects to be done. You could probably do maybe the design feasibility in a year, but I'm concerned about the ultimate construction of those and what the cost of those would then be in 1 year, right? Because you don't want to do the bid, a package essentially created, get all the engineering in fiscal year 2027. But then when we get to fiscal year 2028, you come back and say, well, these will cost $1.5 million, like fund them. My concern is that we're going to sit here, or members on the committee at that time is going to sit here and say, no, we're not doing $1.5 million of these projects. I just threw out a big number, I have no idea.
that was
So, and whether or not the bandwidth is existent to have 7 projects executed in 1 year as well in fiscal year 2028. Because I don't think it makes sense for us to do the design engineering work in fiscal year 27 unless we're very confident we're going to execute in fiscal year 28.
That would be our goal. So, we last town meeting funded a study to come up with a 20-year plan.
Sure.
Town building. That plan was completed. There was a fair effort that was put into that.
Mhm.
Consultant presented that to the select board, and others as well. Were invited. If that study shows over 20 years, $8.5 million of investments needed in your town buildings. Year 1, which would be FY27, right? What we're talking about. Year 1 suggested $1.4 million in capital, and suggested that the operating budget for town buildings be increased by $200,000.
Mhm.
So that's what the study says. So
I understood.
we are dialing back the recommendations on this. However, these recommendations, these findings are fact. They're a liability regardless whether the town of Sherborn chooses to fund them in this year, next year, or never.
Mhm.
But we've adjusted from 1.4 million in capital down to 400. We're looking to try to tackle what would be the first year projects now spread out over 2 years instead of 1 year or 2 years. And to try to get into a cycle where we're getting designs and accurate engineering estimates and hopefully bids so that we have those prior to town meeting. So that's what we're trying to do.
And I'm supportive of that cycle
Yeah.
plan. I think
And
that's.
whether or not, when we come back a year from now with those designs and those costs, whether or not it's supported for construction or not, that's up to the town. Certainly the plans and the specifications, whether they're funded or not, or shelves, are still valid. If we do bid the projects, we can only hold the bid numbers for so long, so there is that. Though we can, if we don't choose to fund it, we bid it, we don't choose to fund it, then we just let the bids go. Need to rebid it at a later date, but the design work, the need for this work is there. You know, whether or not construction is funded in FY 28 or not.
I got one more. There's a couple of exceptions also to what he just said. In the original, so the salt shed, as I had actually originally written, that's a feasibility. That's actually going to come back next year.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a big project and it's pretty complicated. So,
So
the
that
feasibility is actually so we can price out
FY 28.
another ask for actual design.
Sure.
Not even that. So that comes back as a design project next year. And, 2-3 years out for capital. Septic system for the library. That's same thing. That hopefully will get us into the process to talking to the Board of Health. If anyone's ever done a septic system in town, that's not a go to construction next July. We don't know where that's going to lead. This is also a complicated site. So this gets us into probably hopefully some soil testing and getting there, and then maybe another ask next year.
Yeah.
Full design. It might be a really complicated
So
system.
that's a good point. So two of those 7 requests will not translate into revenue construction requests for next year.
So looking at the 6-year numbers and the projections out, my understanding that town buildings for fiscal year 28 was at least put at $370,000. I don't know if that includes these projects or not in terms of execution, but that's the number that's already on our chart. It's basically.
Well,
It would have to
but
change it, deferring, we would be deferring up projects, and so that number would go up. Defer projects that
Okay.
later years go up,
So in terms of the design engineering, and I'm leaving off feasibility, but design and engineering costs, is it accurate to say that that's approximately 5 to 10% of the execution?
I mean, yeah. 10% is a estimate that's put out there, but it can vary depending on the project. There are some projects that are just more engineering or design that goes into it.
Right.
Bigger projects tend to have a little bit more of economy of scale. Some smaller projects generally, the architects or engineering costs are a little bit higher percentage.
So I'm backing out the salt shed. I'll back out.
But that report done by Onsite Insight does have construction costs.
Yep.
It's in there.
Yeah. And so I think that I'm just trying to figure out, and you can tell me if if we use that sort of 5 to 10% of the Onsite Insight numbers, like the ones that could go forward, the police station, fire station roof, fire station windows. I think those are ones that could be executed fiscal year 28, right? Like there's
yeah.
HVAC upgrades and replacement. That's something that would be a fiscal 28. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean,
and then
the way
kitchen
we're approaching
renovation.
this right now is going to be about a year behind on what was proposed.
No, I understand. And as Sean will tell us all, the last on-site insight plan was never kept on the timeline, either, right? And so I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just looking at the practical realities of the town of Sherborn in terms of how much money it appropriates. It will never, unless it changes trajectories wildly, will never get close to what the on-site insight report actually recommends based upon historical practice. I mean, the last one.
Come pretty close with your schools and the on-site reports.
Well, sorry, these are conversations that I just remember Sean saying about the last on-site insight.
Yeah.
And that was,
That was these buildings, not the schools.
right. But-
You as the owner will make value judgments on where you'd like to spend your funds. Yes.
And so I'm just trying to be practical that if the town is only going to vote to approve a certain percentage of these, should we try to just make sure that we're not overshooting too much on the design work up front and just say, all right, this is what we're going to do in fiscal year 28. We think that's a reasonable request that the town will approve. It might not be in line with
I
outside
am
inside.
wholeheartedly behind the concept of capital planning and having a multi-year capital plan that is vetted and includes all of the capital needs of the town of Sherborn, whether they be town buildings or roadways or school buildings or rec projects. I am wholeheartedly behind that approach, and would love to integrate the cost of the town buildings into that. That really should be done outside of your budget cycle in, the weeks leading up to town meeting. This really should be done over the interim periods between looking for approvals at town meeting. That would be your best practice, to give yourselves time to vet a plan that makes the most sense for your community. Outside of budget deliberations and fiscal pressures and all that, come up with a plan that works best for you all.
Let's meet in the summer.
Yeah, no, I mean, so here we are. And it's up to the committee in terms of what it would like to do. I think it makes sense to maybe not have I guess if the costs are going to be $750,000 for town building execution next year, I think that's probably too much based upon the other, for example, the schools, AC, or Linquist, that's going to be $600 something thousand. The town seems to always want to borrow roadway management money every year. So again, if we're trying to keep to that debt service limit of 5%, I'm just trying to make sure we're not doing too much by doing the engineering work, but essentially 3 years out instead of just 2 years out, or 1 year ahead.
And I think there should be updates of your fiscal policies. This 5% number is something that's should have come out of discussion somehow in verbally, but it's not documented anywhere in your fiscal.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what that's really based on. So I would suggest that your capital spending should be based on a multitude of factors. And
No need, tax base / if you have an operating budget of $10, like, hey, you're gonna have to spend more than 5%. Obviously, so that sort of relationship. But
I think I understand your point, but I think that the likelihood that all of the things that are on this list for feasibility and engineering study to be completed in the next fiscal year would be nice, but unlikely. But if we haven't, we're in looking for feasibility and engineering, we're looking for everything, including a bid package, a request for bid package. And if we don't have that, we can't go ahead with collecting bids for construction of anything. So if we complete all that this year, the things that we think that we can likely do the following year, we can send out for bid. But the things that we can't, we can hold on to it. We know that holding on to it for a year is going to increase the price that we get back, but at least we can spread it over 2 years or whatever we need to do. So as long as we're discussing feasibility and engineering, I don't have an objection to doing all of it in this year.
I don't have an objection
Yeah,
either.
it doesn't mean they all have to finish.
I
at the
would
same
think
time.
that we-
Not all of them.
I think we have two professionals here. We have very highly, like, his, in my opinion, has not led us down the wrong path with Jeremy. I would like to, I think that they all have to be done. I mean, and even the septic replacement thing, that's like a 2-year process, trust me. Into it.
Really excited.
And, and I don't think, and heck, the smoke fire, I mean, some of these might come down in price. Hey, you don't know. But I think we have to keep moving forward. And if that's going to help us move forward to get better ideas of what's going for.
Unfortunately, like the smoke fire alarm, that could just fail and back as a reserve fund transfer request to.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be proactive and plan, but are also deferring costs.
Yeah, I think they have, I
Look
think,
forward to your support of this approach. And the select board are supportive of this approach.
But I'd also point out that, with any of these design consultants, first of all, we're not going to sign them all up July 1st, but any time during the process, we can get ready, basing our plan for next year,
mhm,
have the engineer's estimates. We haven't put it out to bid.
mhm.
We get to choose when we put it out to bid. It's not like their contract is just going to end 6 months after we hire them.
Mhm.
Well, now you're screwed. You got nothing. We can have the engineer's estimate. It gets built into next year's plan, and we can choose 6 or 8 months from now whether we actually put it out to bid or we hold off on that portion of it. They can always adjust their engineer's estimates over the course of a year based on what the economy did. It doesn't cost much. It's certainly not like putting it out to bid and then just rescinding it, because that's it's a great cost and a lot of time on buying in Jeremy's hands. But
And this is the only source of funding for such designs. There's no other pot of money.
Mhm.
The regional schools have other pots of money that they can
Right.
do designs ahead of time
Mhm.
on their own funds.
Mhm.
There's no on the town budget side. So hence we have to come before capital budget to request such funds.
If I can read the motion that was made at the last meeting for the ones that we did vote for.
Sure.
I was wrong, and we're probably gonna have to revote those and I made the motion. It was the motion to recommend $75,000 from free cash, and there's where I was wrong.
Oh,
I don't think you were wrong at the time.
That was correct.
Well, at the time, it was fine, but I mean, I was wrong when I said we don't have to revote that. Be appropriated for feasibility and or engineering of DPW fire suppression garage addition and salt shed, estimated $15,000. Fire station 1 kitchen renovation and HVAC replacement, estimated $30,000. Town hall HVAC replacement and upgrade, estimated $15,000. And library septic system, estimated $15,000. Approved 3-0. I made the motion and Nora seconded it. So if we want to add anything to that, we can. And we can specify instead of free cash, we can say capital stabilization fund.
Yeah, just if I may talk as to, I agree that we should reconstitute the whole, somebody moving and second and voting. The capital stabilization fund, and this is perhaps sort of money is a bit fungible here, but it seems to me that that's a time in which you are reaching into the well in order to take, because there's been like some large expenditure or something. That's what I kind of think about it, capital stabilization, right? It's like, we're not going to go borrow a big slug of money at once. We're going to like take from the capital stabilization fund. Here, this seems to be sort of like a smaller like amount than sort of a big project. It's the amalgamation of things. And it's not something that is based upon that cycle. It should be almost like every year you're getting sort of design engineering money in order to do these bid for the town buildings. So it's not like, oh, break glass, go reach into the capital stabilization fund. I would see some of these other projects as reach for the capital stabilization fund as opposed to this. And I don't think that we should be starting to go into the capital stabilization fund for this type of thing. I understand Stephen might have a different view and a lot of people might have different views. But my thought is that if it's something a little bit out of the ordinary or something that just for whatever reason has to get done. That's sort of like what that fund is in order to smooth it out, as opposed to this, which I think of as sort of more of a recurring type thing. So I guess I would be more inclined to use free cash as opposed to capital stabilization fund. Also, when I'm looking at sort of and this is a bigger discussion about free cash in general, in my mind, it doesn't make sense to reach into the capital stabilization fund while at the same time we're putting free cash into the capital stabilization fund, because that just seems like a multiple step process as opposed to just using the free cash directly. And so
What for FY27, there's no proposal to put in free cash to capital stabilization?
I was just working off of the chart that
There's funds from an overlay release and from lien certification from on the library that are proposed to be put into capital stabilization. Those are not free cash.
so those do they go into free cash? Does it require a vote to go into free cash, or?
It would, yeah, if that's where the town chose to put the funds. Yes.
I'm
It
sorry.
does not automatically, those funds do not automatically fall to free cash.
Okay.
They are currently sitting in separate accounts. The town needs to vote intentionally to move it anywhere, somewhere.
Okay.
And
And could those funds then go to pay for something like this? So when I say this, I mean some capital project.
sure, that's why I think the proposal is to use the capital stabilization account to fund this design.
No, but instead of passing it essentially into the capital stabilization fund and then pulling it out of it, which is at least multiple.
Proposed to go into the capital stabilization account and come out.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying that seems like a two vote step, right? So the town would have to vote to extract money from capital stabilization, and the town would have to vote to put money into the capital stabilization fund, as opposed to just voting to take the 300,000, and split it and say some's going here and some's going there. Like that would be a one vote mechanism, right?
I don't think you can use the overlay money to pay for.
It needs to be
these
moved
funds.
somewhere
It
else
needs to
before we
go
can use
somewhere
it.
else before we can vote.
The overlay has to be put somewhere else.
So it would have to be voted to free cash and then from free cash over to
Right.
the project.
Or
You're saying it's a-
stabilization fund.
Or something like
It's a two vote process no matter what.
And by way of just putting those funds, the source of funds, the overlay, which is a one-time thing, you don't get overlay every year. It's a one-time windfall. To put that in your capital stabilization fund, to add to what you've built up now. And then again, to take some time and determine how best to use your capital stabilization funds when you vet out a multi-year capital plan. And then the lead certification funds for the library. Again, if those go into the capital stabilization fund, you might find that an easier discussion in a broader setting. If it's just generally going to help fund your capital. However, if you have a vote at town meeting to fund the lead certification from the library to fund some recycling center equipment, you're likely going to get more questions.
I think also, I think there's a fair amount of people that have the polar opposite opinion than you do with the capital stabilization fund. I, in my opinion, think it's very appropriate to pick something that is recurring. It's a stabilization account. The town should just get used to putting money in there. And it seems perfectly appropriate that something would come back out such as this. That's not really controversial. It's just whether or not it would have been free cash. People get confused by the use of free cash. Most people in this room can't explain exactly how we certify free cash. It's a complicated thing. It's a weird thing.
It's not free, it's not cash.
Yeah, it's neither. So I think we should be building on the capital stabilization fund. I tried to implement that years ago before there was one, so that we would be doing exactly that, and then picking different projects to be coming out of it. So we build it, and it'll take some of those peaks and valleys out of certain years where we stare at the wall because the school needs $1 million, Or,
Unfortunately, due to the operating budget pressures, there's no contribution to the capital stabilization fund this year.
right,
Can I throw something out there?
Please, Mark.
What if, and just stop me in my tracks, but what if you did the recycling center equipment free cash of 175,000 and made that exclude, I mean, again, I'm sorry, I'm really out of line here. Could you do that as exempt borrowing?
That could be, but
And then,
trying to balance, so what is suggested and proposed right now is an attempt to balance the use. You've got a fair amount of free cash balance. You've got your debt rating. Every time you go to borrow, your debt is rated. Right? Currently got a AAA bond rating. That's in jeopardy based on the last bond rating. So they did reaffirm it last summer, but with some cautions that may not be the case going forward, almost regardless of what you do. In that they cited the population of Sherborn being less than 5,000 as a weakness, and your high expenses per capita as a weakness. Those are not things you can change overnight.
not overnight.
But they also expressed that, a significant drop in your reserves could cause a rating decrease. They also cited a significant increase in your debt service could drop your rating. So what's suggested as far as how to fund your capital is sort of trying to balance those competing things. So it per your policies, it does look like you can afford the 175 from free cash for the recycling center equipment.
I was just thinking like switch it, right?
Opposed to using debt for that.
Well, I was just saying though, then you could go free cash for what Peter's saying for the design build. Do you see, I know it's, I know,
There seems to be some consensus, maybe not in this room, that design ahead of construction is the capital stabilization account is a good use of those.
okay.
Just kind of put that out there.
Well, they are
Seems
capital
to be some
projects.
Consensus on that theory. And I get, there is also there's some, it's not clear actually who sets the funding sources for capital. The motions, positive motions that are made that include the source of capital are made by advisory. So just
it's funny they made that advisory, but the select board has to pick what's on the ballot beforehand.
Right.
it's convoluted. There's a ballot, right? I mean, this tomorrow night, the select board are considering the ballot questions. They're making right now, it's a draft assuming certain ones are going to be on the ballot. Right now, the recycling center stuff is not.
All right, so I
It's
just,
reminding everyone that the only things on the ballot are debt.
The way that your organization's functions or doesn't function.
So the source of funds is an important consideration for capital planning because of the impacts and the debt, et cetera.
Yep.
And as Jeremy has been pounding the table for years, this is actually one area where I think there is no ambiguity. It's just starkly unclear how it's who has authority.
Everybody should welcome everybody's opinion.
Right.
Not to say, not to
And,
give anybody's.
But it is, just sort of like,
Everybody should have some
and,
Right.
and there
say in
was,
this, but I'm just not sure.
and there was a time fairly recently where the source of funds was actually hammered out in the meeting that happened between the town administrator and the town council, and it was when the motions were written.
Yep.
And it has only been in very recent years that the advisory has seized the opportunity, I guess, to declare source of funding. And I have to say, if I was going to pick anybody to have to pick the source of funding, if it wasn't going to be the town administrator who probably has the overall grasp of what's going on, I'd have to say for capital items, it should be the capital budget committee.
But it is starkly unclear.
So we should throw our 2 cents in, at least the way that I have been trying to say for our votes this year is to identify what our viewpoint is on the source of funding. So, and oftentimes, frankly, it is tracking what is the proposal. We are saying, if you are using this, we recommend the town to do so. So here, we should, as a committee, decide what we believe the amount, and the design projects, and the source of funding. And the only thing we can do is obviously recommend to the town that is the way you should do it. But I do think we should articulate that, and whomever wants to make a motion, if any, on what is in front of us now, which is the design, feasibility, et cetera.
And I thought Corey was going to say, and I think it should be advisory.
No, we don't.
Because advisory has the whole picture.
Well,
You're just dealing in this.
theoretically, they don't. I know they are required to have an opinion on all the articles by the bylaw. And they do chime in, but they're supposed to do it. It's supposed to be an advise and consent thing.
Yeah.
And we're the advisors. While we're advising, we ought to be advising on source of funds. If it's not the town administrator.
Or the select board, or fill in the blank, everybody's sitting around the table.
Everybody's like,
No, I
No,
think,
yeah, I mean, we want to avoid that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where, like,
I think it's
everybody
more
should be
like-
point in the same direction.
I agree with you.
or it's everybody, let's see what advisory says, and then they say,
I express an opinion.
Gee, so why now is this an issue? That's what I don't understand.
because because we're in a fiscal crisis, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say it's a fiscal crisis. I think we're just becoming a little bit more sophisticated.
I say
in our-
facing Proposition 2.5 for the first time is kind of a little bit of a crisis,
And I've been
a little bit.
many years ago to a capital budget committee where somebody says, yeah, I think having a recycling station is a good idea. Somebody else says, oh, I don't think we need that. Throw it in your backyard. And that was it. They took a vote and that was it. I think it's become more thorough.
Right. Inexpensive.
We're all supposed to be trying to improve our foxholes and make everything incrementally better as we go through it. So I think that's in part why just getting a little bit better, perhaps, or trying to be better at our processes.
If
So
we're-
I was going to say, how about this process?
Okay, so
We're in foxholes, let's pray.
do you want to make a motion then? Because,
Or you can.
no, I'll have you, since you're writing it, and
Oh,
you're,
where did I put our old motion? The concept is I think we ought to repeat the language of our former motion, except strike free cash and put in capital stabilization fund. And that we should add under the feasibility and or engineering, we should add fire station 1 window replacement estimated. What did you tell me?
20,000
20,000.
locker rooms and police
And the
station.
locker room for, I'm sorry, I
The
don't.
police station.
Now. Where did I write this down?
2020 and 20.
It's 10, yeah. So what was it, 20?
And 10, and the 10 is the locker room.
And the 20 was the roof, sorry.
10 roof replacement for 20 and window replacement for 20. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then it's going to be for the whole amount, which is 175, right?
125,
$125,000.
125.
Okay, I'm looking at the wrong number, 125. Okay, so it will say motion to recommend $125,000 from Capital Stabilization Fund be appropriated for feasibility and or engineering of DPW fire suppression, garage addition, salt shed, estimated $15,000 Fire Station 1 kitchen renovation and HVAC replacement, estimated 30,000. Town Hall HVAC replacement and upgrade, estimated 15,000. Library septic system, estimated 15,000. Fire Station 1 window replacement, estimated 20,000. Police station, pardon me, locker room and bathroom renovation, estimated $10,000. And Fire Station 2 roof replacement, estimated $20,000.
Wait,
Yeah.
I hear a second to the motion.
Second,
All right, so all in favor of recommending to the town to appropriate $125,000 from the capital stabilization fund for the design, engineering, and feasibility of the following projects of DPW salt shed, 15,000, Fire Station 1 kitchen renovation and HVAC replacement, 30,000, Town Hall HVAC upgrades and replacement, 15,000, library septic system replacement, soil testing, 15,000, Fire Station 2 roof, 20,000, Fire Station 1 windows, 20,000, police station locker room, 10,000. Say aye.
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 I'm going to say nay, and I'm going to give a speaking vote here, or speaking objection, I guess, just to explain myself. I voted in favor of the $75,000 for free cash. I do think that the capital stabilization fund perhaps should be used for a different reason, although, look, money is fungible. So at the end of the day, I would not hold back $75,000 for that. My more concern is that I'm just looking at some of the costs that would be hitting construction in fiscal year 2028. I don't think that it'll be easy to achieve all of these projects executing at that cost in fiscal year 2028. So I know it's way behind what is recommended by anybody who knows anything about buildings. But I just think that the town might not appropriate that money in fiscal 28 based upon all the other capital expenditures and our debt issues. And so therefore, I just want to stagger it. Because I do think that there is a little bit of a shelf life for some of these things. And so the closer they are to the actual execution of the project, I think the finer the project. But committee spoken, it's 2-1. So it carries. And with that, we're getting danger close. So why don't we quickly talk about, I don't know if there's any update about the transfer station project. I know previously we had discussed what some of the fixed costs would be in terms of the equipment. I don't know if there's any update on that. I know that the consultant has been doing some like designing work, but I assume that there's been nothing coming back to give a little bit more of a tangible, how accurate is that 175 price? But Sean, if there's something that you can summarize briefly about that.
You kind of just nailed it. The consultant is working on the design. He's working with Eversource, trying to get a couple answers out of Eversource on some an upgrade I think they plan on doing there. So I do not have an engineer's estimate yet for the full project. And I don't have the firm number on the compactors. Although the compactors are on a state bid list, there's other equipment that goes with them that we're hoping will actually stay when E.L. Harvey takes their compactors. So there was a little bit of, fortunately, we use the same vendor. The guy sells everybody compactors. So he's trying to work in the background with that. Hoping to have that all today. So,
Okay.
it's still based on, my estimate of 25 per compactor based on what we paid for compactors a couple of years ago. Not having an engineer's estimate, I can't refine the number.
Okay. What's your, and I'm just trying to do this in like 30 seconds and move on to a different project. So what is your sense of certainty about it not being greater than what's
Yeah, that's
can't really Can't really give you a certainty
Okay, so you,
tonight. I'm just,
do you have any comfort at all that it's gonna be
in this world,
less than
I
what?
don't have a lot of comfort in this world.
All right,
Until somebody gives me a number.
so let's talk about the town exterior renovation,
That I have much better certainty of.
town hall.
Yeah.
Did you, I know that there wasn't even a contract for the design work that was signed last time we spoke to you. Is that been,
We were working on getting the contract signed for the designer, so he's hired.
he's hired?
That project will go. I mean, we're not going to have that out to bid for this because it's not. We're working on. That project will basically target to go out to bid with an estimate at or around 300, because of the way the procurement is. That's again with a Chapter 149 project. The architect has to publish those numbers. The bids come back at what they come back at. So that'll be our estimate going out, and we got to hang on to a contingency. And keep in mind, this is an old building, so we don't just need a contingency on that project, but in case we open something up, in case there's any rot on the roof. So we're aiming to keep that at 400 for this project, because if we get into this project, there's no other source of funding left. We are completely out of any funds. There's no other old town meeting articles that would have otherwise helped to fund this. It's all gone.
So, I'm sorry, I thought you said 300, but you meant 400?
The engineer's estimate will be 300.
Okay,
At this point, at 300, at a 15% contingency, put you up at 350. And we're not comfortable with asking for 350 right now, judging on the type of work. Because you'd still need that contingency once you came back with your estimate. I mean, once you came back with your bid. So if we lowered the ask to 350 and we put it out to bid, and the bids come back at 350, we have no contingency to cover something that could happen in the middle of the project. If in previous years, as you know, we would have had, the rolling capital from previous years. That won't exist. So it'd be dangerous to start this project without sitting on that contingency.
Okay,
And there's no other way that this 450 can be spent in another project.
400.
I'm sorry, I'm looking.
No, the way this, I mean, unless you guys came up with a different way advisory would have to change. But no, it's a standalone project.
Okay,
So the project as it goes out to bid will be it.
as opposed to
The money
other,
left on, if there's $28,000 left unspent at the end, that would close out. That would
Okay.
basically close out. Pam would borrow. The long-term borrow would be for the finished project, whatever it's at.
okay, as opposed to other times when it was all lumped in and then you had to spend it on other things that came up.
Well, because, yeah,
Again,
it was a
not
list
enough.
it was a list of various things. This is not.
This is just gonna be one
It's a
thing,
list of a couple things in one project.
and we're gonna
Gonna
get
go
the
into
roof done.
one project. That's it.
And it's
It
gonna-
also cannot be 420,000 because there isn't 20,000 left anyway.
Right, I'm looking at another number here, so I'm looking at the draft.
yeah, there was,
Three,
it's a
Sorry.
moving document.
Okay,
So just to make sure I understand source of funding, at least as proposed, and that has moved around a little bit.
that's gonna be exempt.
Exempt borrowing, right?
Is that still
So
exempt borrowing? Yeah.
But
I just think I'm looking, I guess I'm looking at
Pulling from anywhere
a 3-4
else.
document
It
versus,
should be.
today. Yeah, is that, but it will be just for, it will
It's
be
just for that.
the town, this thing right here.
That's it. And I'll caution everyone and I'll remind everyone, I'm going to do it tonight in advisory. There's no other money for these buildings. So if the boiler blows up, there's no operating money to fix it. If stuff happens, and stuff happens, this will be the first time in a decade we're not sitting on any capital money to be spent
Mm-hmm.
on anything outside of that roof. Maybe that transfer station if that happens.
you should be happy about that, Sean.
I'm not the slightest bit comfortable, and no one should be going into this town meeting with the operating budget the way it is.
Okay, so we have limited amount of time. One of the important considerations here is just how much money we're trying to borrow this year. And so I know that the town hall exterior project is, I don't want to call it the amalgamation of different parts of the building, but what's the possibility, and I know that you don't like this, but of taking the roof and like anything above like gutters up as half of the project, and then like below the gutters as another half.
Yeah, we could do that. Be incredibly disruptive. I mean, it's going to be disruptive anyway. To have a bunch of people running around on stage and up above our heads for weeks, and then lifts working on all these windows. It's kind of a fool's errand because it's going to be a GC that's got markup and there's mobilization and everything else. So it's not going to save you.
No, but
It's going to add some factor to the project.
It's
So
going to spread it out over a bit of time.
right, and you're just again you're pushing what you should have done another year. Is the building going to fall down? No.
Well, it sounds like there's the leak. The roof is leaking, so that seems the priority. Right?
Absolutely, it's the biggest priority on at least the town's capital plan outside of schools. Absolutely. But you know, there is a serious issue with the window openings as well. I mean, there's multiple offices that have had bees infested in, and I can't just stop that. I tell them to not get stung, and we call the bee guy, and he does the best he can to restrain them. We know what the cause is.
You guys want
Were you gonna say something?
No, I was just laughing and don't get stung.
Am I, I'm sorry, my mind must have floated off somewhere. We're only discussing 400,000 for the exterior runner project of town hall.
Correct.
And the other fire and police station things that are listed here were
All those other things fell off.
fell off. Okay.
Right.
that's-
Just, yeah. If you're looking at my sheet,
they were part of the,
cross everything else off.
they were part
Yep.
of the design.
They're part of the design, but not construction.
Correct. Questions?
Nope.
All right, so discussion item, and you know, gonna have to figure out how to actually take votes on these at some point. But so there was an information I got at mid-meeting where Dawn about the schools had some good news where essentially she's saying that and I don't want to disclose something that might not be appropriately public or non-public at the moment, but that the amount that is going to be needed for the roof at the school is not going to be the $2 million. So the amount that is probably going to be needed might be lower than that. And I actually don't know what the sensitivities of me disclosing all this are right now, but
It's
Needless
public bid document, so I don't think you're saying anything that's
so like the
Not
bids
disclosed.
themselves are all.
You can ask Jen.
public document.
All right.
And
Jeremy, just you saw Don's email about that. Is there any sensitivity with disclosing any of that in our meeting?
No, that's fine. I think it's still
Okay.
public knowledge.
should we revote that? Because the language of the vote that we took was we recommended the appropriation of up to 927. Should we revote that and get rid of up to and say 727.6?
No, so the number that came in is actually
672.
551.
72,
672.
That's Sherborn share.
which is more than half, right?
It's
No.
46.8%.
46.8% of Sherborn's.
He went over half.
So I do think that it probably makes sense for it to line up better with what ultimately will be presented to the voters.
Is to revote it?
Yes.
Um,
Feeds part of our. So if anybody wants to,
Well, should we vote? We can wrap that up with voting on the 400,000 for the town hall.
well, so I just wanted to talk about the total amount that we're potentially borrowing as a town here, or at least what is proposed.
Okay.
So I think if we can do the vote on the regional by lowering that, we then have a good number when we start to sum up all the borrowing.
I move that we recommend the appropriation of $672,511 to replace the high school roof, or restore the high school roof. Pardon me.
551. It's,
551?
it's in line.
Oh, okay. Great. And planetarium. Actually,
The planetarium is not part of the.
it's not part of this, although it's listed here. Okay, we'll get rid of it. From exempt borrowing.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
So all in favor of revoting the high school roof restoration project for the recommending to the town to appropriate out of exempt borrowing $672,551, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0 carries. So, and then we get back to what the total proposal of borrowing is. It's $672,551 for the regional schools. It is, I believe, $140,000 for the truck. It is $506,250 for the Pine Hill water tank. I'm not sure if anyone's calculating this on their calculator, but
I don't think the truck is exempt borrowing.
what's that?
The truck isn't exempt borrowing, is it?
The
What
truck
we voted
34.
on it as exempt borrowing, though, I think. So to the extent we want to rejigger that. I know that the current, my concept is to do free cash. Is that right?
Mhm.
Yes.
So 672,506.
We said free cash in our motion.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. So
Still in Newmark.
672,506 plus
In
450
Mhm.
plus 400 equals 2,028,000. I'm forgetting.
Are we gonna vote on the roof? Or the town hall project, 400?
That's why he's crunching numbers.
Oh,
Yeah, so is it 4 items? No, regional schools, Pine Hill, roadway management, and the renovation project.
did we vote on roadway management? Yeah.
Way back when. All right, so if I'm not mistaken, is it just 4 projects that are exempt borrowing on the recommendation we will generate? And Pam says yes.
Yes, because Jameson Field,
All right, so that adds up to about 2,028,000. I'll say this again, to the extent that capital stabilization or free cash or something, or roadway management, not all of it, $450,000, but part of it would be my preference that we are not borrowing as much. Borrowing right now at this point is $2 million, which I just think that we're getting to the point of increasing our debt load service too much. Does anyone have any discussion as to the recycling center first, though, since that is proposed as free cash?
I have a comment on roadway. I always prefer it to be split. So
Okay.
at least some of it's free cash because it gets it out the door a month and a half earlier. We're trying to do spring work.
So we could do the recycling center as exempt borrowing and then make the roadway management free cash split.
If you try to stay with that general mix of free cash and exempt borrow, how does
Okay, maybe,
divided?
yeah. Ultimately, it might also be just a conversation point for a joint meeting with advisory. And does anyone want to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the capital budget.
can we vote on the school thing
Yeah.
first?
We just did 3 of them.
Are we gonna continue this or are we
I
adjourning?
think, sure.
I think we're going to adjourn until we start the meeting jointly
Okay,
with
great.
advisory, but I think we should take a break to get everybody set up
Okay, so I make a motion to adjourn.
until we reconvene with advisory. Anybody want to second that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.